How's it going, everybody? So today I will show you the best of my underwater videography in 2022, and we're starting out with some really good looking freedivers in Sikihua. We'll come back to them, and what we see here are Jackfish in Ambon Island. So this is definitely one of the many highlights I filmed this year. This was fantastic. I felt like a fish among them fish. This is a very good sign for the health of the ecosystem in Ambon Island, that there are so many large predatory fish around. So this was a thrill, and I hope the video conveys the thrill. Now, most of the highlights this year though were small animals. So as you probably know, I live and scuba dive in Negros Island in the Dumaguete area in the Philippines, and this is an area which is known for muck diving. And what is muck diving? You look around in the sand and then you see gems like this one. So this is an Ambon scorpionfish, very rare. I was very excited to find that. This is a fish which essentially camouflages itself as a piece of algae. They're not that small, they're probably about the size of a fist. But because they really look like a bunch of algae, they don't pop out as fish. Real highlight. Now, my main passion is with small fishes, but there are a lot of interesting echinoderms in my area too. And so these are two, obviously, sea urchins. These are fire urchins, and I was privileged enough to observe and to film them when they were spawning. So that white stuff which is coming out of this fire urchin is sperm. They were releasing gametes. So these urchins are quite venomous. You don't see them very often actually, and it's the first time that I observed them when they were spawning this year. So definitely another highlight. Was quite excited about this, and I really spent most of the dive filming this behavior. And not only did I see these species spawning, but I also observed two of them in an interesting type of symbiosis, commensalism, with two small fishes. And these were juvenile red emperor snappers. Now, this is a behavior which is unique to this species of snapper, and it's unique to the juveniles. What they do at night, so I filmed this during a night dive, these small snappers hide in between the spines of that particular species of urchin, of this fire urchin, and this really keeps them safe from predators. Now, it takes quite a lot of skill of the fishes not to get impaled or stung themselves on these spines. So definitely a highlight of this year. This is the third time I've seen this. I've only seen this in the south of Negros Island. I've seen this twice very close to our house, a bit south of Dumaguete, and then I've seen this once in Darwin. So what a treat to film this behavior. Now, there is more echinoderm footage. This I filmed in another part of Negros, and you are maybe familiar with the sea star. So this is the crown of thorns sea star. This is a sea star which preys on hard corals, and there are outbreaks. So sometimes there are large numbers of these at once, and then that can really decimate coral reefs. So I filmed this with this Enon bug eye lens, so you see a close-up of the arms of the sea star, and in the background you see the coral reef, or really what's left of it. And that's not very much. And here you see the tip of an arm, and it's going onto a encrusting or semi-massive coral. So they prefer to eat steakhound coral, but they had eaten almost every single steakhound coral on that reef. So a bit sad, but to get that footage was definitely a highlight of my year of underwater videography as well. Now, this is something really unique, and this is also something that, despite having done thousands of dives, it's the first time I've seen that. So here, all these murex snails, that's what you see here, that snail, were approaching this dead fish, and the dead fish was a flounder. So you can see the flounder in the middle. It's stiff it's curved up. So here you can see the flounder really well. And they were eating it. Now, what had killed the fish was another snail. So this large cone snail had killed that fish, and the cone snails are well known to be very venomous. So they have these spines, these spikes, which are essentially little harpoons, which they can shoot into a fish, which they surprise, and then the fish is essentially paralyzed and dies. And then the big thing which is overgrown with green and red algae, that's the cone snail. So absolutely a highlight to see this amazing piece of natural history. Many thanks to my mate Matt for finding this. This was rather inconspicuous. It just looked like a pile of snails crawling to one spot, but it's essentially like an act of predation of snails onto a fish. Now here, this is something my friend Laura found, and many thanks to her. These are two Pleurobranchs, which are sea slugs, which are not Nudibranchs, they're related, and they're mating. Now these Pleurobranchs, I believe is Oecelenops luniceps, that's the species. They're rather rare animals to begin with, and it's super rare to see this interesting behavior. Now these are hermaphrodites, so each one is male and female at the same time. And the point of contact between these when they were mating was quite nicely visible. So there was also this pumping movement where I believe they were just pumping over gametes. So I observed this for about 20 minutes, and then they separated and very quickly crawled in opposite directions. What a treat again to see this kind of behavior. To me, that's always the peak of underwater videography. If you film the behavior of animals, not just like a pretty fish or a pretty nudibranch. So I was very happy. Definitely yet another highlight of a very good year of filming underwater. Now a few more things. I also filmed a Wunderpus, and this is again a very rare octopus. And this octopus has these stripes. They're more active at night. They're closely related to the mimic octopus. And I had only seen these animals a few times before filming it this year. And I filmed this in Sikihor. So many thanks to Kai with Apo Dive in Sikihor for taking me on these dives. It's one of these dives where I was just diving with a few experienced underwater videographers who, didn't care about me just sticking with this one animal for probably half an hour. So if you're diving with good divers who might also have cameras, it really improves your underwater videography if you can just stay with one animal for a long time. What a curious cephalopod. Now, more mollusks. This is definitely a highlight. This is a nudibranch feeding on a hydroid. So what's a hydroid? It's essentially a jellyfish growing on a stalk out of the sand. And I would always think that Darwin, on Negros Island in the Philippines, is an area where there are lots of interesting small fish and crustaceans and not that many nudibranchs. But I have to say this year I did actually film quite a lot of interesting nudies, and some of them which I had not seen before. So again, I was very happy about this footage because it doesn't just show a very unusually looking and pretty animal, but because it shows behavior. In this case, feeding behavior. So this is even closer close-up on the front of the nudibranch where it's munching on this hydroid. Now, a few more things. Actually, we're back from animals to people, and this was again a chance I had in Sikihor, that these freedivers were practicing their art. And freediving is just a very aesthetic sport. You look much less clumsy when you have these long fins and when you don't have all of that clumsy, chunky scuba gear with you. And obviously these are really pretty women, so this is nice footage, and the light was really nice on that day, and I enjoyed filming them, and they were very good in doing all these different poses underwater and see how the light at the surface nicely reflects on their fins. So cool footage. I hope you enjoyed that. I definitely enjoyed filming this year. As usual, please, share these videos on your social media, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I also published two, not one, but two books this year, and I would like to tell you about them. One of them is The Lives of Gobies with Asian Geographic. Lots of photographs, lots of biology about this fascinating family of fish. And then there's Your Brain on Diving, about the effects of diving on the human brain. So have a good one and see you soon.